I'm here in Budweiser, Bohemia, or as the Czechs call it, České Budějovice, for one reason, and that's to bring America's favorite beer back to its hometown. So, yeah.
Beer's not fun.
No, it is. It says Budweiser. This is Budweiser.
Did you smuggle that into this country?
No, I didn't smuggle it in.
I
What are you
don't
talking?
think it's legal here, Jane.
Are you
I'm
serious?
serious. Better run.
So I'm standing here trying to figure out the difference between this beer and this beer. And what I want to know is, which one is the real Budweiser? And why is this beer illegal in this town, in this country, on most of this continent? Okay, so we all know that the Czech Republic is famous for its beer. And the US is famous for its massive profit-making corporations. But the story I want to tell you today about Czech Budweiser and American Budweiser and why you can't buy this beer in most of Europe tells us something bigger and deeper about the values of these two countries. Before we get to the juicy part, or the hoppy part, to prevent confusion, you need to know some basic terms. The name Budweiser means of Budweis, which was the German name for this town in Bohemia where we are right now, which the Czechs call České Budějovice. Back then, the town was both officially Czech-speaking and German-speaking. Budvar is the name of a Czech beer produced in this town. It's a combination of the words Budějovice and pivovar, pivovar meaning brewery. So I'll just call them American Bud and Budvar. And while you're soaking that up, I'm gonna go drink some beer. Before we dive into the beer drama, I want to thank NordVPN for sponsoring this video. So a VPN is a tool that allows you to connect to the internet via a different country. And it's an extremely useful tool for me because living in the heart of Europe, I travel a lot. And the minute I cross the border into Germany or Austria or touch down in Spain or in France, all of my devices start to go crazy and they think someone has stolen my password. And sometimes I get locked out of my email or video editing software and it's a huge hassle. So instead, I just sign on to NordVPN. It's super easy. I just hit Quick Connect to go to an IP address back in the Czech Republic, and then my devices and online software can all settle down and work properly. And it's great because I can connect it onto up to 6 devices. NordVPN also encrypts my data and is the only way to go when you're logging into a public Wi-Fi, like in a train station or an airport. I can rest assured that no one is gathering my data. And all this online security and convenience comes at an incredibly low price. To celebrate NordVPN's 11th birthday, they're offering an exclusive deal for a 2-year plan, plus 1 bonus month for free and a bonus gift. The link for you to get this exclusive deal is in my description box below. And if you decide that online security is not a priority for you, they give you a 30-day money-back guarantee. So there's nothing to lose. When you click the link below and sign up, not only do you get a great service from NordVPN, you actually help me make more videos like this one. So thank you. American Bud and Budvar have been at war for over a century. Like, we're talking hundreds of legal battles all over the world, because the people who make Budvar claim that the people who make American Bud are trying to pass their beer off as actual traditional beer from this town. The guy who created this beer, a German-American, came to this town and drank some local beer and thought, yeah, this is what America needs. And then he returned to America, produced a similar beer, and called it Budweiser. So you're probably thinking, so what? So an American entrepreneur came to Europe, tasted something he liked, copied the recipe, and it became America's most popular beer. Yay, capitalism? In fact, the recipe for these 2 beers, and we'll get to the exact recipes in a minute, they're actually pretty different. You know what? Let's just start at the beginning and you can be the judge. Beer is so old and so revered in this part of the world that you couldn't even brew it unless you had the permission of the king. Almost 800 years ago, Bohemian King Przemysl Otakar II gave the right to brew beer not to one brewery, but to the entire town of České Budějovice, or Budweiser. And this town, this city, became the royal brewery of the Holy Roman Empire. And the beer it produced was known as the Beer of Kings. Sound familiar? Fast forward around 600 years, and Europeans started landing in droves on the shores of America, where at the time, the most popular alcoholic beverages were rum, whiskey, and cider. Among them was then 18-year-old Adolphus Busch. You might recognize the name. On a trip back to Europe, he visited the town of Budweiser, Bohemia, liked the beer, and decided this would be the beer he'd make when he returned to America. He named his beer Budweiser, of Budweiser, and a legend was born. He introduced new processes and pasteurization, and his beer became enormously successful. But that didn't mean it was any good. In fact, in private, Adolphus called his new beer Dot Schlop, and actually drank wine instead. But Budweiser was a triumph of marketing over quality. The king of beers, as he had registered as a trademark. And marketing he did. The problem came when American Bud and Budvar tried to sell their beer on each other's continents. Commence the lawsuits. In the early 20th century, the two breweries struck a deal. You sell there, I sell here. And that worked for a while. Then in the middle of the 20th century, American Bud would expand into an international colossus over the next half century, while the Czech brand Budvar lingered behind the Iron Curtain. By the late 90s, the détente wasn't really sticking. Both beers tried to infiltrate each other's markets, with American Bud selling their beer as Bud in Europe and Budvar selling their beer as Czechvar in the US. In 2008, American Bud was bought by behemoth AB InBev, and they started flexing their sizable muscles in courtrooms around the world. If you're a law student and don't have any hobbies, I encourage you to dig deeper. I'll even put some links about the legal battles in the description box below, but it looked a little like this. The current state of affairs is that American Bud is forbidden to use the Budweiser moniker in most European countries, and Budvar Budweiser is forbidden to use the Budweiser moniker in the United States market. And no, I will not tell you how I accompanied this beer into the Czech Republic. And while I won't take you down the legal rabbit hole with me, you need to know about something that most Americans have probably never heard of, and that's a geographical indicator. And it's the heart of the battle between these two Budweisers. I would argue that GIs are a big reason we Americans love coming to Europe. Without even knowing it, GIs give us that je ne sais quoi that we love to brag to our coworkers about when we return from our European holidays. A geographical indicator is a legal designation on a product, kind of like a trademark. They both do two very important things. First, this apple is a trademark, and it tells you, the consumer, that this product has all the quality of all the other products that have that apple trademark. Someone else could make a similar product, put it out on the market, but they can't sell it with the apple trademark. This geographical indicator on Roquefort cheese tells you, the consumer, that this cheese was made in the Roquefort region of southern France, with milk from these sheep in these caves, and the process that was refined by generations of these people. Someone else could store a bucket of milk in their basement, grow some mold on it, and sell it on the market, but they can't call it Roquefort, no matter how similar the product might be. Trademarks are given to a particular company and operate mainly on the principle of first in time, first in right. If Hewlett-Packard had registered the Apple first, then the phone in your pocket might look like this. If Apple wanted to license that trademark to the kid in the garage down the street making really cool walkie-talkies, they could, because their corporation owns the Apple trademark. A geographical indicator, on the other hand, is given to a particular place. Anyone in that place whose processes and materials meet the criteria can use that geographical indicator. That GI cannot be licensed away, and it also can't be withheld from a producer in that region who meets the agreed upon standards of the product. Second, like a trademark, GIs protect the producer. Just like Apple has invested billions of dollars in research and development, the producers who have the GI label have been making their Greek feta cheese or their French champagne or Scotch whiskey for centuries and refining the process. The GI protects them from some upstart in Miami trying to market his bathtub whiskey by calling it Scotch. All of this is important because American Bud secured the US trademark Budweiser in 1878, 17 years before the Budvar brewery even opened. And you guessed it, Czech Budvar have the legal designation of GI for Budweiser, meaning of the town of Budweis, or České Budovice. So it basically comes down to a fight between US Bud's trademark and Czech Bud's geographical indicator, and the dozens of national courts around the world who are forced to mitigate the two.
Your Honor, we renew our objection.
Listen to me. That's not true.
Come and stay there until you're told to leave.
The defense strenuously objects.
I don't like to use this thing.
I'm ready to throw you out.
Stop.
You're testing my patience.
Order. Okay, fine. I've hit you over the head with GIs. You get it. Budvar is brewed in České Budovice and American Bud is brewed in St. Louis, Missouri. But so what? I mean, Apple products are made all over the world. Yes, but with food and beverages, it's a little different. Remember that GIs are important because where you grow your ingredients changes the flavor of the food or beverage. The French call it terroir, and it means that the climate and environmental factors produce different results. So, counsel, what actually is in these bottles? Budvar is pretty transparent with their sourcing, but American Bud is a little more secretive about their ingredients. Budvar created their very own strain of this yeast back in 1895. They source 100% of Saz hops from Žatec in northern Bohemia. Their water comes from a glacial aquifer through artesian wells 300 meters below their brewery, and is said to be so pure they don't have to treat it. 100% of their two-row malt comes from the Hana region in southeast Moravia. All of these ingredients come from less than 260 kilometers from the town of Budweis. US Bud uses hops from the northern US. Some experts say there could be up to 11 varieties. They're hush-hush about the type of yeast they use, but experts believe it to be a bottom-feeding yeast that I will not try to pronounce. Each of US Bud's 12 breweries get their water from their respective locations, and they get 70% of their malt from the northern US. The other 30% of Budweiser's malt comes from rice, and Budvar wants to make explicitly clear that their beer is 100% rice-free. We Americans who are lucky enough to travel to Europe love geographical indicators, even if we don't really know it. We don't go to Italy to get a latte at Starbucks, or go to France to get a Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese. Royale with cheese. That's right.
Okay, maybe just once to try it. We come to Europe to drink the real champagne in France, or to taste Parma ham in Parma. If Europe didn't value and maintain its local specialties, if they just homogenized the entire continent with Subway sandwiches and McRib and Coca-Cola, you probably wouldn't be as excited to experience everything that Europe has to offer. And at the same time as we Americans eat up this localism when we travel, American law doesn't respect foreign geographical indicators like Europe does. When it comes to GI products from abroad,
No respect. I don't get no respect at all.
They get very little respect. Americans have been eating fake Kobe beef and fake Parmesan cheese and champagne grown in California without even knowing it. American producers pretty much just slap those labels on their fake imitations, and the American laws don't stop them. But when an American firm who doesn't respect a geographical indicator comes to Europe and tries to pass off their beer as of Budweiser, you can see the conflict. You know who knew that geographical indication mattered? Adolphus Busch. Otherwise, he would have named his beer Missouri beer, now with rice, or something like that. He called his beer Budweiser to ride off the reputation of that town and the beer those brewers made from the hops and the barley that was grown in this region and the water that came from under their earth. Because the number one lesson in marketing is people buy stories. And if you can encapsulate a story, or even more than that, a history, by just using someone else's name, that is marketing gold. AB InBev knows this too. In 2012, they purchased the historical Samson Brewery in České Budovice, giving them the right to use the water, and many say to strengthen their position in the Budweiser lawsuits. Budvar is the only state-owned brewery left in the Czech Republic, largely because they know that if they'd privatized, they'd have to sell to the highest bidder. And who do you think that would be? America is all about the new thing and reinvention. And that's why the world loves those darn cowboys, because they don't care about the past. They recreate themselves every generation, sometimes even on different continents. But when they do it on the backs of the towns and the artisans and the reputations built over centuries, it's not really something new, is it? So if you're an American traveling in Europe and you really feel like it, you can track down a Bud and drink it over your Royale with cheese. But don't confuse it with a Budvar from Budweiser, originating from a town that's been refining the process and producing the ingredients since they earned the title of Beer of Kings hundreds of years ago. Because this is an experience worth having. Na zdraví. Special thanks to our Budvar tour guide Milada, who has a mind for the intricacies of brewing beer like a steel trap.